So I will start off this question to you, Dr. Suman. That is, you mentioned the importance of thinking, developing the thinking skills. And that is something which we usually didn't have in the school itself. So when you suddenly move to the higher education and when they are put to this kind of stress, I think that is something they can't handle. What is your suggestion to the school educators about somebody who wants to become an engineer? And it's not something bad to dream of becoming an engineer. And that spark can come from anywhere. And Dr. Kalam said that spark came when his natural science teacher in fifth standard took them out and then showed them how the birds were flying, taking flight. So that made him dream of becoming an aeronautical engineer. So these kind of dreams can, or these sparks can come at any time. But how to prepare them for this this highly competitive and very intensively knowledge-centered career? What are the things that the school should focus on?
This is a very important question. Now, we have to realize that the challenge in India is population. So, if you think of people going to engineering education in many countries, because of the number of seats available in established colleges and universities, and the reputed colleges and universities, and there is quite a parity with the number of applicants. I mean, it is not disproportionately different. Now, in India, if you see that people have a craze for getting into IITs or equivalently, so-called famous engineering institutions, and the number of seats is very limited. So that brings to the context of how do you admit these people. So long as we have an admission channel, which is the JEE like, and it has been traditionally over the years, one success of that is that it is actually able to capture one type of aptitude very correctly, which is maybe you can say using maths or that type of skill to solve problems. And this is a very important skill. Whenever I go abroad, I find that many of the teachers, or rather many of the students there, they are far behind as compared to our own students in terms of these skills. So they are ahead in this. Now, where they are lacking. So we have to remember that in our education system, to build up these skills, there are many pseudo school programs which will ignore the activity based learning of the students. And I know, in class 11, 12, there are schools where the participation of students in lab is just customary. That means in pen and paper. The participation in activity is almost gone, and everybody is focusing on like in the competitive exam. So in that way, what is happening, and it's a more challenge in the modern era, is because in the previous era also it was qualitatively like this, not that it was grossly different, but people had natural means of getting exposed to the outer world and having their own thought process working on instead of being ruled by the internet. So I still remember that in our younger days, people used to so much brainstorm on certain things because simply internet-based information was not available. But now that internet-based information is available, there is no reason to brainstorm on that. So many of the natural skills that would go with the school children, normally along with the maths and physics and chemistry, bookish knowledge, all those have now evaporated, and that has created majority of the crisis. That is, these kids are amazingly smart and very intelligent, but the all-round ability to address a real life problem, requires so many skills. That means, I give you one example. The skill of working as a team, very, very important. Working as a part of an interdisciplinary team to solve a problem. Let us say we have conceived of a project where a student has to solve the drinking water crisis of a village by using basic skills of science and maybe in particular chemistry or knowledge of pollution, and maybe the social awareness, scalability, all these things, they automatically come. Now when people work on these, they realize that they may be speaking about the most advanced water filtration technology, maybe the nanotechnology based water filtration or any advanced membrane filtration technology on one hand, and thinking about the poor person who finds it difficult to even pay 1 rupee for a water purification system. So how can you make it more affordable and accessible with the high-end technology? That is a different brainstorming exercise. So this overall ability of synthesizing what is a problem and what could be a acceptable solution, which is socially, culturally, technologically, all on and economically all acceptable, and is able to address some of the global challenges. So when you talk about that as a skill, you find that except for maybe the science of that membrane filtration, the remaining part is not that much there, as an intrinsic ability in our students. So one thing is that in school level, what we can do is introduce some assessments or evaluations which will be based on these kinds of tinkering lab activities, or I would imagine group project activities. Try to give credits to this and let these be credits accumulated as credits to the board exam. So it will then lessen the burden of the seriousness of the board exam, and it will make sure that they take part in these. And I think it is high time that we make all these school level activities an essential part of getting admitted into any top institution of choice of the students, in addition to the JE rank. So let the JE rank remain, but let there be holistic approaches of admitting a student where those things may not have marks, but at least yes no type of thing. That means whether people were engaged into it and they got a pass on the basis of that. Because without those essential skills, just by having the ability of solving mathematical problems, by eliminating wrong answers in a multiple choice framework, I am afraid it is not developing the kinds of students that we look for as future generation engineers.
Now we are talking about this industry 5.0, when we talk of engineering education, I think sometimes we get the feeling that it was meant for the industry 3.0 or 4.0. So how fast do you think we need to catch up with this industry 5.0 so that engineering education becomes relevant for the kind of environment that the students are going to enter?
No, I think that it's a dynamic process, and the entire thing is evolving around the extent of this AI related material that is directly coming in at the interface of what we are learning and what we are going to use. So if there are, so I'm giving you a pros and cons of something. So every human being requires a creative skill for their development, and creative writing is one of those things. So with the use of ChatGPT in generating sort of writing items, I think someone did a survey very recently. It shows that a significant drop in the creative aspect of learning has taken place. So maybe that particular knowledge part is covered by using the generative AI, but there should be an alternative way of nurturing that creative skill, which would not directly come from use of any such tools. And there must be compulsory elements of those through certain hands-on works which cannot directly be reproduced from the open web or generative AI materials.
And also going by your background, you have actually developed microfluidics and worked in the area of microfluidics and nanofluidics. And I found that you have actually come out with low-cost solutions for the healthcare industry. So how does this this kind of approach come? Is it that you have experience, you have seen people struggle with this?
No, absolutely. Always we say that necessity is the mother of invention. So if you see IIT Khargapur, so IIT Khargapur is of course the oldest and the largest of all the IITs. And if you come to the campus, you will definitely get a feel or justification of its existence. But when you go maybe 1 kilometer away from the institute, you will see that the grassroots level community, which is located there, they are getting deprived of certain basic amenities and facilities of life, which perhaps could be addressed by IIT's knowledge in technology and related applications. So that motivated me to start working on technologies which could directly impact their lives. And that is how microfluidics, which has been my area of research for a long time, and that is how I started sort of directing its applications for affordable diagnostic technologies for the common people.
And also you mentioned about some basic skills that students should have when they pursue this engineering. Actually, when we are using this multiple choice, we are not able to understand that. So do you suggest a reform in the way that we conduct the entrance exams? And what would be your suggestion for that?
So I would say that in principle, reform is good, but in practice, it is very difficult. It is simply because of huge number of students. So possibly what could be done is that we could have a multi-layer format so that at every layer students have opportunities, but when you have the final layer, there the admission should be inclusive of many different factors. See, one day performance in a JEE exam may not mean much in terms of what you are going to do in your career. And I'm afraid, although by the JEE system, we are able to get many exceptionally good students, we are also missing out many exceptionally good students. And I find that by locating the career trajectories of many such students who may not have done that well on the date of the JEE, there could be many other factors, maybe some health issues or emotional issues. So many other things could be there. Some people are not able to sustain that much of stress that generates out of this expectation, but they will do greatly in life. So I would recommend that maybe getting rid of the format of the JEE exam is, although it could be ideal, but it would not be practical because of the huge number of students. But what we can do is that we can have multiple different aspects that we may consider. Just like when you go, a student goes for admission in a reputed foreign university, say MIT. I'm just giving an example. So they will look into many things. One is, of course, their scorecard in the school. But beyond that, if they have done some meaningful activity work, or something where they have shown some exceptional talent. So if that is there, sometimes that is given more importance than just the grade of the school. Given that everybody who is applying for MIT education is having a threshold grade, and crossing that barrier, only their applications are considered. So in that way, it may be possible that experimentally a few number of seats in some of the programs of the IITs or ISC or IICRs, some of the leading institutes, can be kept with such modes of admission. Already there are some in the IICR, like the Inspire and several other fellowship programs are there. But we have to scale that up, and we have to make sure that on one side we should have people who are diligent and they are doing well, exceptionally sharp. On the other side, we should capture the people who have the right aptitude. They may not have always high level of skills in one particular subject, but they have the aptitude to learn and apply for solving real world problems. And the mechanism should also be there to attract them. And maybe to begin with, we can start that exercise for more masters and the PhD level, where there are possibilities of having more innovations in the admission system.
And you also talked about the blending of the Eastern and the Western philosophy in engineering education. And as I mentioned, this month we had discussed a lot about liberal arts education, where the boundaries between science and humanities or engineering and other subjects are clearly not there. I mean, it's fast vanishing. And I was also reading about in Yale University, they have artists in residence. So they invite musicians or painters and other creative people to come to a quantum physics lab, and then they jointly develop something new. I mean, new music out of quantum or some new installations. And also they both learn from each other. So now that IITs also focus on social sciences and humanities, most of you have full-fledged departments for...
No, not only that, we have many such things. For example, we have an academy of culture and classical and folk arts. So we have certain, we have Indian knowledge system, a center of excellence. We have a center for happiness. So many of these units are there. And I think that it is now right time that these units are taken to be inclusive units to take part in the mainstream, rather than showcasing them as isolated good units. So more and more they participate in the mainstream teaching and learning. I think the new era of engineering teaching and learning will evolve.
And you mentioned three important qualities that the future engineer should have. One is the scientist's mind, then entrepreneurial drive, and soul of a human. So are these things possible to be developed once they come to your institute, or is it something that has the parents have to take care of, or the school education?
Lot of things the parents and school education have to take care of, because in the higher education we get students who have been molded to a large extent by virtue of their upbringing, and it is very, very difficult to undo it. And rather, we should not undo it also, because every upbringing has a value and that has to be respected. But the challenge is that if someone wants a person to be technically sound with the mind of an entrepreneur and maybe the soul of a human, that has to be nurtured in school. And I am afraid it cannot be nurtured by moral science or moral education courses. No. So it has to be nurtured by certain activities or workshops where implicitly by that they learn for values. So if you have a book which says that stealing someone's money is a crime, it makes no sense. But if, for example, if you develop a drama whereby the drama you dramatize the situation that maybe someone who has apparently made a life in that way, by fooling people, cheating people, and how that person suffers both from inside and outside, and someone who is a purified person, how that person enjoys, the bliss of life through a drama. I think that stays in the mind. So the entire aspect of teaching learning, should be made more engaging and more, what I would say, practical in terms of, what is learned by seeing and listening rather than reading from the books.
Okay. So we'll wind up with one last question. There is a lot of concern among the parents and also the new batch of engineering students, because there is a lot of negative news coming from the industry. And a lot of things, they say though, so many engineering jobs will no longer be there, including some disciplines will be totally eliminated. So that is the kind of very shocking news that is coming. And also, I read in another article which says that 4 areas are most important: cyber security system, embedded system, DevOps engineers, quantum computing. So all these kind of things are coming. I mean, we are bombarded with this kind of news and some predictions and doomsday predictions like that. So what is your advice to the young
No,
breed of engineers?
because we have come to the end of the session, and we have been having a lot of, what I would say, as very serious discussion. I will give this answer with an anecdote, or a sort of an experience. So, in a long time back, there was an advertisement in Germany about the Mercedes-Benz car, and all of us know, how great the brand is. And someone who purchased that Mercedes-Benz car, brand new, was very proud. This is being shown in an advertisement, and the person drives this brand new Mercedes-Benz car through the autobahn, which is, that unlimited speed road, highways in Germany. And suddenly the car stopped. It broke down. And when it broke down, the person got, very, very disturbed and annoyed. And with the disturbance and annoyance, what he did is, uh, he reflected onto his, car purchase, and then he found that, well, there could be something which is wrong with the car, definitely, but let me try to fix up. Most of those people are by themselves, by their natural training from childhood, good technicians. So he tried to see, and he could not sort it out. So he had to give a call to the, the stores from which he got the car. And those people, they were very anxious, and with lot of anxiety, their service people rushed, and they opened up the car and found that there is no engine inside the car. And the question is that, then when there was no engine inside the car, then how it was driving, in the high road? So then comes the caption: Benz the car rides by name only. That means it is such a famous brand, by its own name it was running, although it has no engine. So we are now talking about autonomous cars, autonomous vehicles, which are driven by machine intelligence and not humans. And many of these things are coming in a way that people are having a sort of insecurity that old disciplines will disappear. But can you imagine an autonomous car without a car engine? No. And in fact, the era has come, and if you ask people, whatever is, all these buzz things are given, it's a completely wrong information given to the students. Actually, most of the companies are now getting it difficult to get students who have reasonable knowledge in the core subject, because that is needed, for many operational things, but also advancing the technology. See, the advancing the car technology is not just automation. There are so many other aspects. There is research in combustion. Now, combustion research has not stopped, and so many things can be done in that front. So the whole idea is that when people are overstating the importance of data science and others, of course these are important, but you require a cake to be having a topping on the cake, and I'm afraid we are talking about more on the topping and less on the cake, and we are running short of cake. Cakes are not available and only toppings are available. So everybody knows coding, and everybody when you say that what you want to learn, will say coding, and the nature of coding that they are learning is not to the same level as a person who is deeply focused on understanding and learning new algorithms. The most talented person in computer science will do it in a completely different way. But this is something what we say as applying the tools which are available to solve problems. And anyway, of any branch of engineering, the person could have that skill. At IIT Khargapur, we have started a double major system. So anyone who is having a mental stress of not getting AI as a branch could easily get a major in AI, or even do a project with the skills. But I am afraid that we should not run out of those people who do not have foundations on maybe electrical, mechanical, civil, and all these traditional branches of engineering, because many of these aspects are very much missing in the way in which the modern engineers are directing their training towards. So my whole recommendation is that it has to be a balance, just like balance of the Western and the Eastern bent of mind to have a progress in career, balance of the traditional and the modern emerging aspects of engineering. And these have to be cocktailed in a proper interdisciplinary framework to make the learning of a modern engineer. And there is no reason to believe that people with traditional engineering knowledge being imparted would be running out of jobs.
It's a good news for a lot of engineering graduates out there who are actually frightened by the kind of the news that is being dished out in the online and other channels. So we are extremely thankful to Professor Suman Chakraborty for spending so much time with us and discussing about the changing engineering education and what are the important skills that students should acquire, and also the different philosophies that has to be integrated, and the empathy and other skills, soft skills, communication and other skills that engineers should develop to become really holistic engineers and those who contribute to society. And you have also lived by example, having integrated, worked in a multidisciplinary environment and contributed to quality, affordable healthcare. So I think you are also an inspiration to the young engineers. So we are thankful to you for giving this insight on feel, think, and build the future of the nation. As we all know, engineers contribute a lot to the development, economic growth and development of the nation, and we are grateful to them.